Welcome back, folks, to another edition of today's economic news. I'm John, your guide through the labyrinth of current events and fiscal fiascos. Today's headline reads like something straight out of a crime thriller. Operation Pacific Viper yields massive 20,000-pound cocaine seizure. But while the headlines scream success, I ask you, do they tell the whole story? What are we really witnessing here? A monumental triumph in the drug war, or yet another example of government overreach, lavish spending, and strategic misdirection? Stick with me for the next few minutes, because we're about to dig deep beneath the surface. Now, let's set the stage for our story. Operation Pacific Viper, a name straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, represents an aggressive escalation in the United States' efforts to throttle drug trafficking. This time, the battleground is the vast expanse of the Eastern Pacific, a hotspot for the illicit transport of narcotics. This initiative is a convergence of muscle, power, and influence, bringing together the U.S. Coast Guard and Navy under a unified mission. Launched in August of 2025, it comes as a response to a troubling rise in drug-related violence and cartel-driven criminal enterprises across Latin America. The backdrop? A long and sordid history of U.S. administrations wrestling with the thorny challenge of drug trafficking, consistently labeled as a menacing national security threat. Before we dive into today's details, let's rewind to a pivotal point in recent history, 2020. Remember how the Trump administration took a hardline stance against formidable drug cartels like the Sinaloa and Tren-de-Aragua by designating these powerful cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. It wasn't merely a symbolic gesture. It represented a tactical ramp-up in the military's involvement, aligning with a broader strategy to stem the tide of narcotics into America. This strategy wasn't conjured overnight. It drew from a legacy of legislative actions, a history paved with drug enforcement bills that laid the groundwork for such operations. With a vivid context in mind, today's operation makes sense. It's the climax of years of steely resolve to fortify coastlines and maritime borders. Turning now to the evidence at hand, the hard data doesn't lie. Operation Pacific Viper isn't just making small ripples, it's creating waves. Over 20,000 pounds of cocaine seized in a single mission. To frame this in stark reality, 7.5 million potentially lethal doses were taken off the market. Imagine distributing that amount, an act that could jeopardize over half of the U.S. population. However, is this truthfully shaking the backbone of drug cartels, or simply plugging one hole only for two more to appear? Since August 2025, Operation Pacific Viper boasts nearly 100,000 pounds of cocaine seized. Picture this, 1,600 pounds of cocaine intercepted daily. This fiscal year alone saw seizures amounting to almost 510,000 pounds of cocaine, representing an astonishing volume of 193 million doses that could potentially rewrite the lives of millions. It's a figure that triples the annual average seizures of 167,000 pounds historically claimed by the Coast Guard. But riddle me this, is the sheer volume of the seizure a testament to success, or a glaring indication of the scale we still face? Quotes from officials add fuel to this ongoing debate. Whether it's assertions about putting narco-terrorists at the bottom of the ocean, or recognizing these frightening amounts as a harrowing threat to half the nation, it spurs one to ask, what's the real payoff here? Do officials think such bold statements will satiate our demands for safety and security, while leaving root issues untouched? Let's transition now to the heart of the matter, our libertarian perspective. We must scrutinize the financial and ethical ramifications of such military ventures. With an aggressive share of budgets being funneled into operations like these, vital services suffer, leaving communities vulnerable to taxation and financial strains. Inflationary pressures bubble under such extravagance. And what about combating the root causes? For all the might and muscle, there's a glaring absence of focus on public health strategies and meaningful reforms. The sword is drawn, but the underlying rot persists. Moreover, as the dust settles over the Pacific battles, civil liberties find themselves tethered. Military intervention in matters once primarily domestic blurs the line between national defense and personal freedom. The narrative cloaked in national security slowly tightens its grip on personal liberties, forcing us to question, how deep will these incursions into private lives extend before boundaries dissolve? To sum it all up, we've looked at an impressive showcase of seized narcotics, yet victory doesn't automatically follow numbers. It's a vivid display of grandiose operations veiling real concerns. If you, like many others, feel frustration over footing the bill for their endless experiments, consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm John, reminding you to always question, always analyze. We'll catch you next time.